excited to be with you today as we're discussing something that's very important, something that's very pervasive, and it's something that a lot of people deal with. And this is the idea of I am not enough. Now, if I'm being very honest, I am not enough is not something that actually initially resonates with me. I feel like I'm a person, I'm pretty self-confident. And when I think, do I think that I'm enough? The answer is yes. Yes, I think that I'm enough. However, I think there is a lot of room for me to understand here and have some empathy, because if I put a space in there, if I have a blank, if I say I am not blank enough, then I can start to identify, right? So maybe it's not a pervasive universal belief that I am not enough to exist, to be loved, something like that, but I am not thin enough. I think that's something that a lot of women have dealt with. I am not smart enough. I am not experienced enough. I am not established enough. I mean, so there's any kind of adjective that we can put in there where we can really start to go, oh, well, maybe I do have some room for growth on here. So let's go ahead and tackle this. I've written I am not enough already on the board, and I've also put out what I call the reality cycle. It goes by different names. A lot of people use this tool. But let's go ahead and figure out what that is. For anybody who is maybe new to my coaching practice and what I teach, C stands for circumstances. Ooh. T stands for thoughts. Oh my goodness. F is for feelings. A is for actions. R is for results. So circumstances, when we think about circumstances, we need to think it's kind of like a just the facts, right? Just the facts. And facts are actually 0% in our control. Circumstances, that what's going on around us, we have very little control over, whether it's the weather, whether it's other people's actions, whether it's the past. So that can be one circumstances that we come against that we really feel a lot of emotional connection to, but once it's happened, it's happened. Another thing, not only are they 0% out of our control, they're also actually neutral. Okay? Circumstances in and of themselves are not negative or positive. They only become negative or positive when they come into our thoughts. This is when something actually comes into our awareness. So if something happens and we don't know anything about it, we don't feel anything. We don't feel anything until we know about it. And then, even then, our brain has to decide whether this is a good or a bad thing. Because our brain is always looking for pain, pleasure, it's looking for risk, all those kinds of things. So almost immediately, our brain is going to assign some kind of positive or negative to the circumstances that are around us. So that's why it's really important for us to understand that circumstances are inherently neutral, but then our thoughts then begin to color it, and then we begin to decide whether we think they are positive or negative for us. And once we decide they're positive or negative, we come to our feelings. If something's positive, we'll have a positive feeling. If something's negative, we'll have a negative feeling. And very often, almost always, that goes down to our actions. Our feelings are actually there to drive us to action. That's why our body produces the chemicals in our brain that then go out through us to our body. That's why we feel. It's so that we move, so that we can act. So then we have results. And then those results ultimately become our circumstances again. So this is why I call it the reality cycle, because this is what's actually going on. Neutral circumstances, and then 100% everything else that happens, that we feel happening, is totally within our control. It may not always feel it, so often we feel like our circumstances are driving our feelings. I couldn't feel any other way in this circumstance than I do. That's not entirely accurate. We always have a space where we can take our thoughts, change our feelings, change our actions, and change our results. And I do want to point out that unchecked, this becomes a domino effect. So if we assign a circumstance a positive meaning, we will then have a positive thought, which will lead us to positive feelings, lead us to positive actions, and positive results. All right, and consequently, if we assign a negative meaning to a circumstance, you know what's coming. If we decide it's negative, we're going to have negative thoughts about it, negative feelings, negative actions, and negative results. So I want to touch on this a little bit more because there is a very different, an important thing to realize that there is a tight loop here that will run between thoughts and feelings. So as I alluded to before, one of the reasons that we have feelings is to drive us to action, right? We have all this equipment, our eyes, our ears, our nose, everything on our body, right? All of that is interacting with the environment to let us know whether or not there's a threat, okay? And if there is a threat, then our brain knows that we need to get out of the way. So in order to make sure that our body is going to move, our brain releases chemicals to give us feelings to get us to move. Now what happens when you have a thought and you release a chemical and then you begin to feel your feelings? Well, you notice, because that's the whole point of all of our senses, right, is to be able to notice what's going on. So I have a thought, maybe I think, well, how about this? I think today's not going to be a very good day. How about that? Today's not going to be a very good day. I have that thought, and then immediately my brain releases a chemical because it's trying to prepare me for that eventuality. Right? That's what our brain is doing when it sees a threat. It's trying to prepare me to confront that threat. So if my thought is today's not going to be a very good day, I'm then going to have a chemical release that's going to have the feeling that should meet that, which is prepare for the worst, right? Which would be kind of a depressed feeling. Now what happens then I notice that I'm feeling a little bit depressed. And then I think, you know what? Today really is going to be a bad day. Another chemical is released. And then I feel it again. And so it feeds on itself. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy on a biological sense. That's what's going on in our brain and in our body. Okay? It's just kind of this feedback loop. So we have to be very careful and mind our thoughts. All right. I think that's a pretty good introduction. Is everybody on the same page? Okay, great. So let's go into I am not enough. Now, I want to talk about I am not enough in a different way because it's not just a thought, because I am not enough very often becomes, take a second here to erase this, now that we've gone over it. I am not enough is not just a thought, it becomes a belief. So what is a belief? Well, belief is just a thought that we have thought so many times and looked so often for validation, for examples, for confirmation of that thought, that it has become a belief. So I don't have to think about it anymore, because now that thought has actually moved up into this circumstance place. As far as we're concerned, if we continue to think enough times, I'm not enough, it becomes our belief. In our mind, it becomes a fact. And then we start thinking about that circumstance of, I'll grab a pink because it's lovely. Okay, we'll turn this into our circumstance now is I am not enough. Now, I don't believe that anyone is not enough. I don't think this is a legitimate circumstance. And when you become adept at using the reality cycle to improve your experience in life, you'll be able to see this is not a real circumstance, because a real, true circumstance is a fact. It's something that if I was to present this to a jury, everyone could agree that is true. Right? So if we could even say, Ellery is not enough. Well, this is interesting because if you're going to put this before a jury, they want some more information, right? They wouldn't want this vague thing. Well, what are you talking about? Ellery is not enough. She's not enough to what? And that's a great question to ask yourself. When I think to myself, when I feel that I'm not enough, what am I really saying? I'm not enough to what? And then the next question needs to be, as you're examining that thought, is that something that I could prove in front of a jury? I could get a room of 20 people and everybody would agree that you are not enough. Now, I might even say, I am not tall enough to play in the NBA. Is that true? Well, has anyone shorter than you ever played in the NBA? That's the next question, right? So a lot of times we start to have these beliefs, and our brain starts to treat them like a belief. And so if I believe this is a fact, Ellery is not enough, what is my thought? Could be any number of things. And some people like to keep the I am not enough in whatever regard it is because we feel like it's going to drive us to action. Okay? So my thought might be, I must change. Okay? I'm not enough. That's a fact. My thought is, I must change. Now, what kind of feeling is it going to come from I must change? Or even I should change. I have another video about that, about should and how I think it should be a 4-letter word that starts with SH, because I think that's how frequently we should be using the word should, because I don't think it's helpful, right? Because when I start thinking this, I must change, I should change, this is saying I'm bad, right? I'm not enough, that's the whole problem. I'm bad, I should be better, but I'm not. And so what is my feeling? Did you say shame? Because that's what I think. Shame? It could be regret. We're just going to go ahead and stick with shame now. I must change, and then when I'm feeling shameful, what kind of action am I going to take? What kind of action am I going to take? From shame, we almost always hide, right? If I'm ashamed, I hide, which means I don't do the things that I want to do. I don't do the things that I certainly could be doing. And ultimately, I don't move forward. And any effort that I do make may only be a halfway effort, because I have these thoughts and this belief that I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, am I going to try as hard as I can? Because there's no faith. There's no hope there. Okay? So, halfway measures or hiding. And what are our results? Well, our results are going to be the same way. They're going to be halfway. And do you know what's interesting about that is it's not going to be authentic. It's not going to be coming from my best self. It's not going to be coming from what I believe is my true self. If it's coming from shame, hiding, and halfway, we have bad results. We have, in a lot of ways, we have false results. And then these results then become evidence to us to continue the I am not enough belief. So I want to talk to you. Let's sit down. I'm going to get a drink of water real quick here. Okay, because I want to talk about this idea of I am not enough. Because really, who decides whether or not you are enough? See, there's not like an application that we submit. We don't have a test in front of the enough board or the worthy to be on earth board or the you are good enough board. You can't be certified good enough by some kind of body or entity. The only reason that you feel that you are not enough is because you have decided, and even if you've picked up some ideas from somebody else, let's say that's totally possible. There's something in the environment, but you have made it your own. And you have continued to have that belief again and again and again, that thought, until it becomes a belief. And now you have this list, and you are the only one who can certify yourself to be enough. You're the only one who can do it. Because you've already set up these rules to what that means to you. Again, even if you pick them up from someone else. So the only way for you to become enough is for you to actually decide that you are enough. There's no other way. Even if a bunch of people tell you how great you are, and you know this because plenty of people have told you at certain times in your life that you're good, that you're worthwhile. They thank you. They appreciate you. And still, in the back of our minds, there is this belief, again and again, like a haunting, like a ghost, I am not enough. But I want you to, for just a second, for me, this was very much when I was at a conference 2 weeks ago, and people would ask me, what are you grateful for? That was one of the questions that we would have as kind of a get to know you when we do these little mixing activities. And one of the things I said time and time again was like, I have got my ruby slippers. I feel just like Dorothy. Now that I know that all of my feelings are coming from my thoughts, and a lot of these beliefs are just programs that I have made, and I am the only one who can change them. I want to believe that some knight in a white horse, is that right? A knight in shining armor on a white horse is going to come and he's going to say, yes, knight me, or whatever they do, latify me. What do they? It's a British thing. I don't really know. Anyway, that someone else is going to be able to come and say that. But the fact of the matter is that if it was a clown who came in a clown car and then tried to knight me and tell me that I was enough, that I would say, no, that's not enough. Only a knight in shining armor on a white horse with a red bow around the tail that is French braided in the mane, right? To have this big long list, and only then will I believe that I'm enough. But the problem is, ladies and gentlemen, you have become so accustomed to believing I am not enough. It does not matter if God himself were to come down and say, you are enough, you would not believe it. Because your biochemistry has just been programmed into that loop. Remember I was talking about the chemicals that are being released? That's where you live, then that is your belief, and you can't get out of it until you decide that I am enough. So what's going to happen when I start believing I am enough? Well, first I'm going to think that's a load of crap. Pardon my French. That's a load of should, is what I should say. Should say, could say. Now I forgot. I got all wrapped up in that joke and then I forgot where I was actually going. All right. The point is, because when I start training myself, and I have to say retraining myself, because I've already trained myself to believe I'm not enough by repeating it, finding evidence for it, identifying that evidence, and who says that evidence is actually proving that I'm not enough? I do. I'm doing it to myself. I have been programming myself into I am not enough. Is it a legitimate circumstance? Is it true? And the answer is no. The answer is no. The answer is that you are the wizard behind the curtain. You are the one who's decided whether or not you're enough. You've been saying I'm not for so long that you believe it, your body believes it, your actions believe it. So at some point, you have to take the power back and you have to start deciding to think I am enough. Now let me tell you why you should think that. Because it's just as legitimate as I am not enough. Actually, that's not even true. It's much more legitimate. It's not just a choice. Because this is the truth of the matter. The fact that you are here, that you are alive, shows that you are more than enough. Right now, everybody who's on the earth right now we are the pinnacle of evolution. Everything throughout the whole history of our planet has been leading up to this moment to create you. And that is the truth. And to create everyone around you for whatever reason, even if it's chance, it's an impossibility. It's an impossibility. It's an impossibility that you exist, that your whole life and everything that you have gone through has brought you to this moment. And for you to deny that you are not enough is a huge mistake. That is the big lie. That is the false, the fallacy. The truth is that you are a miracle, that your body and every process that goes on in life is an absolute and utter miracle. We've gone out into space, we've tried to find life. It's not there. We try to create life on our own outside of our bodies. We can't do it. But you are it. And you have an amazing capacity to touch the lives of other people, to love others, to do good. And that is why you have to put on your big boy or your big girl pants, and you have to start saying, I am going to start thinking the truth. Because I've lived in lies for too long. Today is the day I start thinking the truth. Because when I start thinking that, then I will start to feel it, right? So instead of having a circumstance of Ellery is not enough, or I am not enough, we can change it and we can begin to think just that I am. Okay? So whatever your belief system is, whatever it is, however you got here, whether it is through the grace and the magnificence of God or the incredible improbability of science, however you got here, you are here. And from that circumstance, I want your thought to be, I am a miracle. This is not smoke. This is true. And if you ever get into I am not enough, you are denying the truth and you are living a lie. That's what I want you to think when you come against I am not enough. When you have that circumstance of thinking it, I want your instant reaction to be, that is a lie. Because the truth is I am, and I am a miracle. Now, what kind of feelings do we have from I am a miracle? Hopefully, we have gratitude. Hopefully, we have love. We have excitement. All of these things are true and possible because of the circumstance, the true circumstance that you are, and the true thought, I am a miracle. Now, what kind of action comes from gratitude, love, excitement? By the way, does this give you some confidence? I hope it does. Do you have some confidence? You should. Because again, you are a miracle. What kind of actions are we going to take from gratitude, love, and excitement? And are they a different action than you would take from the opposite feelings? I don't remember what those crummy feelings we were having before. It doesn't matter, because they're not going to be the feelings of power that are going to get you to where you want to be, to where you know to be, to where you know that this lie has been holding you back. We have to get rid of it, ladies and gentlemen. It has got to be taken out of our lives. Okay, so the kind of actions that we have from these, of course, are all giving actions. Okay? That's when we start giving our best. That's when we start giving to others. And we can finally give to others because we know that that knight in the shining armor, on the horse with the ribbon and the French braided mane, he's not coming. And even if he did, it would still be up to you. Okay? 100% within your control. When I have that belief, when I have accepted that truth, that circumstance, then everything changes. Because then I'm not trying to find out from someone else if I am good enough. I'm not trying to get someone else to tell me I'm worthwhile. I can stop manipulating the people and the circumstances around me to try and give me something that they cannot give me. Okay, I'm coming back. I'm coming back because this is so important for you to understand. That no one else can give it to you. They can try. They can try all night. But ultimately, the only thing that will make you feel like you are enough is because you decide to. Because you've decided, okay, that person, they were important enough, they said it in just the right way, that I can believe it. And how long are you going to believe it? A day? An hour? A week? How long until the biochemistry takes over again? Because of that thought that has been played over and over and over again that I'm not enough. When are you going to start to doubt what that other person has said? Or what those other things mean? When are those insecurities going to come back up? It's not going to be a long time. I'm going to be honest. That's why this work is so important. And, okay, good. So, I hope you heard that. I hope you appreciated that. Okay. Coming back, we start to have really, truly giving actions. We can truly be ourselves. I can be authentic. Because I can finally give. Because I'm not looking to take. Okay? And what are your results? You know what your results are. I believe we change the world. Right? But every result that we want, if we are giving, our result is we will receive. I can't spell receive. Okay. Then we can finally receive those things that we want. And then this begins to loop together. All right? So, that's what I think about the thought, I am not enough. This has been great, guys. I've really, really appreciated you coming today and listening to this. I pray and I hope that you will take the time to truly grab a hold of your thoughts. They are choices. They are 100% within your control. At any time, you can change them. Anytime, you can turn around. It may feel like you are, yeah. Okay, all right. That was part of it. That was part of why, okay, one last thought. This why I started with I am instead of I am enough. Sometimes what we want to do, if we have a thought that we don't like, we want to totally eradicate it. You know what I'm saying? Like we want to say instead of, well, I used to believe I'm not enough, so now I want to believe I am amazing. I am fantastic. Right? We want to start to have that to be our belief. But the problem is, when we try to put that as our circumstance, our thoughts don't believe it right away. Which is why I invite you, instead of trying to turn the whole ship in like a second, you know what I'm saying? Like if you've ever been on a boat and you have to turn it around, it's not like this, unless of course it tips over if you capsize, but then you're not on the boat anymore. So the metaphor really falls apart at that point. So if we can start to have a little bit of space, a little bit of flexibility, instead of trying to force ourselves to believe something that we're not ready to believe yet, we can start with something much more basic. So instead of thinking, I'm fantastic, I'm the best, we can start with I am. All right, I am. That we can prove. We can prove that you exist. Some people would argue, but we're not going to talk to them right now. And then from there, I can start to believe, after I connect to that idea, I am, then I can start to think, I am a miracle. Because it's not what you've done. Okay, you don't need to find evidence that somehow you are doing something to make yourself worthy. The fact that you exist in and of itself is a miracle. And then we can start to have this reality cycle working in our favor. Okay, so if you have any resistance to this, I understand. And it takes time. It takes time and it takes practice. But as you think about it and as you meditate on it, it is the truth. So I believe that you will come to it.